Yeah, so welcome to my very first talk ever. So history being made. A Tale of Two Cities. I'm going to talk about how I manage our game projects in between Berlin and Shanghai. Small correction, thanks to summertime, it's now a 6-hour difference. Just as a quick recap, so I'm Enya. I moved to Berlin 5 years ago in April, so almost exactly 5 years ago. I first started in customer support, eventually went to community management, and then in January last year, I started Wargaming Mobile as a player experience champion. So that means I dealt with everything player-related. And then in the beginning of this year, I started as an associate project manager. So I'm relatively new to project managing, but I learned a lot of my predecessors. And honestly, in the last 2 months, I gained a lot of info on what to do and what not to do. Right, first, let me give you some context. The game I work on. I'm sure most of you know Wargaming. You've probably heard of World of Tanks. You might have heard of World of Warships. I work for World of Warships Blitz. It's the mobile version of World of Warships. We're a tactical, team-based naval shooter. That's our vision. That will come back later. And we launched a bit more than a year ago, so we're relatively young, but we already have over 12 million downloads, and we won 2 awards. The first one I'm super proud of, because it's the Pocket Gamers People Choice Award, and as I said, I did player experience. This was voted by the players, so just a humble brag in between. And we also got the Android Excellence Award, and recently we became Android Editor's Choice. Anywho, enough bragging. What about the team? So our team is divided in between 2 offices. We have Shanghai and Berlin. Shanghai does most of the development. So you have your programmers, your artists, engineers, game designers. And then in Berlin, we focus mainly on publishing. Think marketing, live ops, product managers, community, project manager, me. But as I said, mostly, we do overlap. We're one team. We're just publishing, they're just development. We have a game designer in Berlin, and the Shanghai team, for example, will give us info on live ops. They have input. We make sure we overlap. We're not just 2 separate offices with 2 separate jobs. And as I said, we have a 6-hour time difference. 7 hours in winter, it does complicate things. But it brings me very well to my first important point. Yeah, it's the obvious issue, time. You have a 6-hour difference, how you deal with this. The most important thing to do is to set clear time parameters. For example, in our team, we in Berlin, we will not Skype the Shanghai people after 12 p.m. 12 p.m., that's in the evening for them. We don't want to bother them. We don't do it. If there's anything you need to tell them, either set a reminder for yourself, do it the next morning, or you mail. The same for the Shanghai people. I will not get pings in the middle of the night. They're going to wait until 8, 9 a.m. They know I'm awake, and then I'm going to get messages. The only negative part about this is you're going to wake up to a lot of emails. Depending on your role in the team, it can be a lot of emails, but it beats waking up in the middle of night because you get pinged for a small question. Right. Yeah, one thing that you shouldn't forget, and I've seen this happen even in other teams that I worked in, is don't forget about the holidays. Christmas, that's very obvious. Lunar New Year, we all know about it. But International Women's Day in Berlin was a holiday. There's no way they could have known. You have to tell these things and always make sure you let everyone know, even if it's just a small holiday, because the other team will not know otherwise. Cool. Next. Whoop. There we go. OK, another fairly obvious point, and actually this goes for any game, you need to have a clear game vision. If you don't have any vision, you're not going to have any direction. People will just start working on what they think is right, and it's going to be a complete mess. So first of all, make sure everyone in your team knows. Live ops, artists, even those who maybe don't care too much, they need to know what the game vision is. They need to know what you stand for, what you want to work on. the easy way to do that is also by keeping it very clean and simple. Warships Blitz, tactical, team-based, naval shooter. That's what we are, that's our identity, that's what we work for. And everyone knows about this. The artists in Shanghai know it, our marketing person knows it, I know it, we all know it. Of course, you should still add like sub-goals, like if you have a sprint or like a quarterly goal, let's say retention is not okay in your game. This quarter, we're all going to focus on retention. And then you can delve in deeper within the teams, but also everyone knows that's what we're working towards. Cool, cool. There we go. One thing that I've seen in a lot of teams, and I think it's a bit old school, is saying, oh, we need one contact person that talks to everyone in the other team, and all the mails, let's say all the mails to Shanghai go through one person. Don't do this. I highly, highly recommend not doing this. You need to have a project manager, someone who leads everything, but don't put everything on one person. You're going to burn them out. You're going to create a bottleneck. If they're sick or on vacation, there's going to be a void. If they leave, it's going to be even worse. So the best way is to, as a project manager, set the connections. You have your team leads, you know your team members, and you trust them because they're good at their job. So you tell them, like, OK, this is your equivalent person in the other office. For example, our live ops team will often talk to the lead game designer because he knows the game so well. He knows the events. He knows what you can do. So they will just talk to each other. They don't need me for this. I'll be in CC, though. There has to be one person who needs to know everything. But you don't need to do all the communication. You don't need to handhold everyone. Let me just quickly check my... yeah. So yeah, you connect people. There's still, if there's something important, they still have a project manager. And very important also, create a big mailing group in case you have something for everyone. That way you won't leave anyone out. It seems basic, but it can make a huge difference. You're not going to put all the pressure on one person. Everyone will get to know each other. You'll feel more like a team as well. Calls are usually better than text. I know in the game industry, not everyone likes to call. Slack, Skype, mails, it's very comfortable to just type, but don't do it. If you can, join someone who's in a call that doesn't like to call. The other day, our game designer had to have a call with the other game designer, and he didn't really know how to start. So he just said, like, hey, does anyone want to be my social lubricant? And he got in a product manager who just, helped his way in. And then they call, and it really creates a bond. It's so many nuances, that's the word, that you can just get by talking. You can make jokes in between, and they won't get... I mean, sarcasm or jokes in text don't work. But if you tell them, usually they work if you're funny enough. So yeah, do make sure to have meeting notes, so you at least have everything written down. But yeah, call. Stay away from text if you can, especially for meetings. And if you have the budget for it, and if you can, visit each other. Our Shanghai leadership visited us a few weeks ago, and it made a world of... The difference is huge. You get to know each other. The meetings are more productive, but just having lunch or dinner afterwards, you actually now know the people. You know who you can make jokes with, who's maybe a bit more serious. Let's say your team is divided over several locations. Organize a boot camp. Just once a year, be like, hey, this week we're all going to this location. We're all going to work together. And you'll just feel, it's a team-building activity, basically. But you actually get to know people, and you get like a face. That's not just a typical LinkedIn picture. So it makes a big difference. All right. Another thing is to have regular sync-ups and actually do them. I know scheduling sync-ups is super easy. You're like, oh, every 2 weeks we're going to talk. And then the time is there, and you say, oh, but I don't have anything to say, and you cancel. Never cancel. If you have nothing to say, you have a 5-minute call. You're like, hey, how are you? Fine. How are you? And it's done. At least you had a talk. But more than... Usually, there will always be something. There will always be, even if it's minor, the sync-ups are very important. That's also what makes our team really work well. The fact that we talk. We talk all the time. We have a bi-weekly live-up sync-up. We have a weekly project sync up. Most are bi-weekly. That's my favorite. Don't go for monthly, because it's way too long in between. You'll miss out on stuff. And if you do it like more than weekly, it's going to be micromanagement, and no one likes to be micromanaged. Another fairly, I'm sure you saw this one coming. There's got to be cultural differences, especially if you work with a team in China. We're not native speakers. We have, at the moment, I think, 2 native speakers in the Berlin team, none in the Shanghai team. There's got to be misunderstandings. And usually they're pretty funny. They will make a joke like, oh, Chonglish, and I'll be like, I said something in Dunglish, which is Dutch English. It's fine. Not everyone's a native speaker. Keep your sentences short. Use simple English. Like, you don't have to pretend you're talking to a 3-year-old or something, but just, short, straight to the point, and you'll be fine. There will be differences. For example, I've been in Berlin for 5 years. I've gotten like the German attitude, I would say, where I'm really straightforward sometimes. And not everyone likes this, so I have to accept that I need to adjust a little bit. And they will also realize that if I'm just saying something, I'm not trying to offend anyone. But I blame Germany for this. I wasn't like this before. And lastly, if you don't know, just ask. I know it's very typical to say there's no stupid questions, but there are no stupid questions. And if they're stupid, at least you ask them, and you're not going to make a fool of yourself later. So just ask. I ask things all the time. We have it's a ships game that I work on. Your ships are in your port, but some people will say harbor, and even that causes confusion. So people are like, hey, did you make the new harbor UI design? I'll say like, wait, do you mean the port one? And say, no, harbor, and then you just talk it out. So yeah, just ask. It's fine. No one will blame you for it. You won't seem stupid. You'll just seem smarter. And then my last point, and I think this one is super important, because I know we had some issues with it, and this is very common. You're in 2 offices, and it's, especially if one of them is mainly development, the other one is publishing, you'll be like, oh, it's us versus them. It's not. It's never. You have the same passions. You work on the same game. You want your players to be happy. You want to have success. And you need to remember this. If you make mails, don't order things around. Just be like, hey, what do you think? Oh, I had this idea. Be very open. Remember, even if you don't see each other out of sight, out of mind, it's not true. You're still one team, and you work towards the same goal. And honestly, just changing that mindset already makes a huge difference. You will feel like your game is improving right away just because you're working together and not against each other. Sorry. Yeah, and that's actually it. I think, yeah, well within time. Are there any questions?
You are perfect.
Oh, OK, yeah.
You don't have to do that alone, obviously. Thank you so much. So that was your first talk ever?
Yeah, nailed it.
Congratulations, you definitely nailed it. High five. There you go.